Hey, gun people! Alright, so let's talk. It's a nice day in Texas here. Hi, Wookie Cat! We're going to talk about unlawful search and seizure. Pause up, don't shoot. Okay, so that last video I did, let me get the weather out of the way. The sun came out, it was like 30. Oh man, that was a big old bird. I wonder what that was. Crap, I wish I'd have got him on video. That sucker was huge. Jumped out of that tree, big old wingspan. But I digress. I think it's like 60 something out here, but it was like 40 or 30 something, 35 I think this morning. It was nice. Smokey came banging on the door because he thought the fireplace was lit. He knows I got all this wood. He's like, dude, it's a fireplace. He came in, walked around, saw the fireplace wasn't lit, and wanted to get out back outside. So he didn't stay in too long. That was like at 3:30 in the morning when Dad woke up because you were out there banging on the door. So the last video I did about, I got some really conflicting, and I know as my audience grows either through bad guys wanting to learn cop techniques or guys who just hate cops and they want to come here to see if I'm just taking a cop's side, or my audience is different than what I call my core audience. My just good gun-loving guys who figure out that government's going to take advantage when they can, and they just want to, take advantage of my experiences on government and my take. So, on this last video where the dad came out and they wanted to search his car, man, I got a lot of good questions and I got a lot of conflicting stuff about, can you detain somebody or is it a seizure to hold a car? So I'm just going to go over searching and warrants and cops lying and try to give you a better understanding of this. So, hi Monkey Cat. Good old iced tea in here. Peach. Good. Peach tea, little buddy. So, look, if you watch me long enough, you know a cop cannot search you without consent, a warrant, or exigency. Those are it. So, I can't search Moki here unless I ask Moki and he says, yeah, go ahead and search me. If he says no, I can't search. That only leaves me two: a search warrant or exigency. A search warrant is, I have probable cause, think I can search. I go ask a judge, I run it by the DA. The DA says, yep, I think you have probable cause, I can defend this warrant if you find evidence. Go to a judge, the judge goes, looks like you got probable cause, you got reasonable belief, I trust you, go ahead and search and seize any evidence. So, if I can't get consent and I can't get warrant, I need exigency. Well, what's my exigency to search Smokey? My exigency is, if I don't grab him and hold him here, he's going to run off and get rid of evidence. So, I can detain him till I get a warrant. Now, normally, freezing a person to search them while you go get a warrant doesn't normally happen. If you got enough to seize them, you're probably going to arrest them, or you have enough to search for weapons. And if you don't find weapons, you can get into weapons under exigency for officer safety or other reasons. But if I've got a person detained and I want to search them, I'm usually going to arrest them. I can't ever think of me going to get a search warrant to search a person. Now, if I'm searching a house and I get a warrant to search a house for evidence, I can put in the warrant, I believe the house is occupied by John Doe and Smokey Doe. Hi, what are you doing, rolling your little belly? And then I can add them a warrant, say I want to search these two parties in the house and any other persons in the house when we serve this warrant. And I've gotten warrants for that, so that way we can search anybody we find in the house. Rick, you can't do that. The Fourth Amendment says you have to name the person, places to be seized, and the items with specificity, and you just can't go in there in general, and that's fishing. I'm telling you, I got warrants like that all the time. whether or not they're illegal or not, I've never had a warrant overturned. Out of all, I don't know, 300 plus warrants, I've never had one overturned. Now, that doesn't mean my that doesn't mean my warrants were so great that they didn't get overturned. That means that because when I get a warrant, it's presumed good because it's been reviewed by a DA and a judge. So the burden of proof to prove that my warrant was no good shifts solely on the defendant or his attorney to say why my warrant's no good. And that's a very high burden to do, and most attorneys don't even try it. They're like, look, if the judge, and normally the judge is hearing a case is the one who signed a warrant. If the judge signed off on this warrant, for us to convince him that he was wrong and that he ought to suppress his own warrant is slim to none and slim left town. So that's where you get into, it's very difficult. That's why DAs and prosecutors and judges, everybody's like, dude, get a warrant. Once you get a warrant, you're golden. I mean, it's very, very hard for them to overturn it. They've got to prove that I lied in the warrant, that I withheld information, that I knew things I didn't put in the warrant, that I misrepresented things in the warrant. They have to prove that. First of all, they got to find that out. Second of all, they got to prove it. And normally, the only way to prove that is if the guy who got the warrant admits to it. So that's a very high hurdle to get over. So that's why none of my 300 plus warrants were ever overturned. That's probably more of a reason. Now, I like to think my warrants were good. They ain't overturning it. I didn't lie. The shit I had in there was good. That's my belief. Even if they would have tried to overturn it, they would have lost. But I know a lot of cops, and I've seen a lot of warrants that I thought were BS. And I was like, dude, if somebody challenges this, they're going to win. But nobody challenges them. So you don't hate the messenger. The wind's picking up. The flag was completely dead when I came out here. I went, wow, there's no wind. I don't have to listen to people complain about the wind. I can sit outside and do a nice video. But the wind's picking up now.
I'm Okie Cat. I'm Okie Cat. Oh my God, he's a crazy old cat. Hey, old crazy cat.
I'm going to search this cat. You got any weapons on you? I'm concerned about my officer safety. Got any drugs, hand grenades, dead bodies, dead mice, mice heads? No?
Hands up, don't shoot.
Poor Moki. Say, Dad, I don't want to be your search dummy on your video. So, now let's get into what's called freezing or securing a place to be searched while obtaining a search warrant. A lot of people were like, can't do that. That's against the law. You don't have probable cause. Look, people, if I got probable cause to go ask for a warrant, then I have probable cause / reasonable suspicion to secure a place that I'm getting a warrant for. They come hand in hand. You can't have probable cause to get a warrant and not have enough probable cause to secure a place. It just can't happen. Now, can my warrant be turned down? Yes. In this case, a lot of people ask, did they go get a warrant? I don't know. If and buts of coconuts. I don't really care if they went and got a warrant. People seem to have been fixated on, and I'll try to remember to put a link, but I probably will forget. But it's one of my recent videos where a cop saw a vehicle that looked like it was white and it had the same rims, and it was seen leaving a couple shootings. And they wanted to search it. They looked in it and they told the people, look, your daughter, this car was seen leaving the club at night after shooting. It matched the description of the vehicle that was shooting. So therefore, we'd like to search it. And the guy's like, what do you suspect my daughter? He goes, no, we've probably 90% sure we've cleared her. We just want to search. So, and people were saying, and the guy said, no, go get a warrant, which I'm okay with. I don't know if I would do that or not. If somebody wanted to search my car and I really thought they had a warrant and they gave me good facts that they were going to go get a warrant and I think they would get a warrant, I might go ahead and give them consent. Remember, if I give them consent and they find something, I have a better chance of getting that evidence suppressed, saying I was coerced, I was in fear, I didn't have a full understanding. Maybe not me because of my experience, but someone else So I just gave him consent because I thought it was no big deal. I can play dumb. You've got a better chance of getting that evidence suppressed than you do if they go get a warrant. Now, will they get a warrant? Do they have enough to get a warrant? I don't know. That's why, to me, whether or not they got a warrant on that car made no damn difference to me. People were fixated on cops can lie. Yes, the Supreme Court ruled that we can lie, but we can only lie under limited in the scope of our employment to not give away information or to not subject. When the first ruling came out about lying, it was about undercover cops. And before the courts ruled, undercover cops, supposedly, I never knew it, but before my time, if you ask an undercover cop, are you a cop, they had to be truthful and tell you they were a cop. So guess what the crooks did? Every time they sold dope or committed a crime, they asked the guy, are you a cop? And if you said no and you lied, then we could get that evidence thrown out, or you were lied and you can't lie, you're not above the law. So the court ruled that, look, if an officer's engaged in undercover operations and he's asked, it would be stupid to require him to tell them that he was an undercover cop because it would blow the investigation and it would lose all the time and investment they had. So they ruled that cops are allowed to lie to not give away their undercover status, or that they are a member of the police department when working undercover when involved in an investigation. Things of that nature is how cops are allowed to lie came out. People now have morphed it that cops can lie about anything. I can lie about my name. I can lie whether or not I want, whether I'm sleeping with your daughter. I can lie whether I'm sleeping with your wife. I can lie about whatever. Anybody can lie. Is that lie material when it comes down to charging a crime, evidence of a crime, getting a mission? So I can lie. The courts have ruled that I can lie in an investigation to a suspect. I can tell you I have your fingerprints. And I told one of my crazy cop stories where I had one of my buddies, I went and made a copy of his hand with his fingerprints, brought it in and go, dude, these are your prints and we got a match. And the guy freaking confessed because he's stupid. And I was like, okay. Now, I lied to him. We didn't have his prints. It wasn't even the prints that I showed him. But guess what? I booked that in evidence. When I wrote my report, I said I showed him a photocopy of my partner's handprint. My partner was so-and-so. He volunteered to give his handprint. And when I showed him his handprint, the guy confessed and told me things about the crime that no one could know but him. Therefore, I believe he did it, blah, blah, blah. And went out and arrested him. So, can I lie in that aspect, telling you I have evidence I don't? Absolutely. The courts have said, no problem. Because the courts ruled that if an honest person did not commit a crime, even in the face of a lie, he would not make statements, and the term they use, against his penal interest. Against your penal interest is basically you're going to go to prison and you're going to go to jail, so people normally don't lie to get themselves into jail. So, the courts ruled that, hey, even when faced with lies, an honest person would not make statements against their penal interests. And that's why cops are allowed to lie during investigations or in the course of investigation. Moki, I have your paw print. I know you're guilty. Give it up. If he admits, no problem, even though I don't have his paw print. Now, if I get into coercive and I start putting him in a rear paw lock, and I go, you tell me you did it, you tell me, and I coerce a statement, now I can't use that. I use force, fear, or pain to get the confession. Even if I lie when I'm using force, fear, or pain, I can't use it. But just to make up I have evidence, I have your prints, we have a witness that saw you, we have your DNA, you left this, bring in an old Coke can. If you arrest him at his house when you're leaving, you tell a guy, hey man, he's drinking freaking, I don't know what, Red Bull or some off-the-wall brand that nobody drink. What's Red Crush? Do they even still have Red Crush? That used to be a drink a long time ago. I don't know if they still have it. So you grab this bottle out of his trash can at home, and you go, we found this at the crime scene. And he goes, shit, that's my drink. That's the drink I drink. And I was there, and I don't remember if I drank that. And he admits to the crime. Totally legal. Now, can I come up and start badgering you and saying, I have this and I have this, and you're not going home, and I'm locking you up, and I put you in cuffs, and I go, until you tell me you did it, I ain't letting you go because I've got all the evidence. No, I can't do that. So, for some reason, everybody wants everybody to think that cops are lying about everything. Well, in this case, I think the cops may have been lying. And this is, I say may, because if they went and got a warrant, and if they really did have enough to go get a warrant, and if you didn't watch the video, the cop goes, look, if you don't want to search it, we'll just go get a warrant. The guy goes, go get your warrant. Meantime, I'm leaving. He got his keys, he tried to drive away, and the cop goes, no, that car's staying right there. And people were like, that's a seizure. You can't do that without probable cause. It's a limited, the courts have ruled, it's a limited temporary seizure which overrides the chance of somebody destroying evidence or moving evidence or taking evidence to commit another crime. If I think there's a gun or a bazooka in the car, I'm not going to let the guy drive off and go, man, I got to get a warrant. Okay, dude, I'm going to run to the store. Okay, make sure you come back and make sure you don't get rid of the bazooka or the gun in the car. Okay, see you later. I mean, any reasonable person would think that would be pretty stupid. Now, I get it. I don't like the incremental encroachments into our Fifth Amendment rights or the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment rights to search and seizure, Fifth, self-incrimination. We're losing all those rights because there's all these little exigencies, and if you're driving a car, and if there's public safety, and if there's national security, so there's all these exceptions now, and that's how the government gets around the Constitution. Constitution was written to limit government. Those amendments should be sacred, but over time they are not. They have chipped away with exigency, circumstances, free speech. Everybody wants to, you can't yell fire in a building, that's free speech, but you can't do it. So it starts out as that, and now we're into secret courts with secret hearings, with secret search warrants that nobody can see. That's how it starts, inch by inch. That's why you never give government an inch, and you always fight to remove government power, never ever agree to government having more power. But you can't tell a freaking liberal that. They want regulations for this. They don't want you to be able to smoke. They don't want you using a straw. They want to limit salt. They want to limit the size of your drink. Liberals are all about, we need more power to control and keep you safe. We got to protect you. We're from the government. We're here to help. So, and we got shitty conservatives that do the same thing. But I digress. Let's look back at search warrant. So in that situation, what that officer did is saying, I'm temporarily seizing this car. And we used to call it freezing. Freeze the house or freeze the car. If I was on a case and we got split up and we had multiple scenes and these guys contact us, normally I was in gangs because they split up, or we had two guys, and these guys, I'm with this group, and we knew they were planning this, but we got the wrong group because we saw the colors and went, oh shit, they're in the area, let's stop them. So we get them out and start searching. They're all on probation, got warrants, we're arresting, we're searching, we're doing all the things. And the main car we wanted to stop by other guys on the other side of town. It's like, dude, freeze that car. If you can't get in it through exigency or some other way, I'll go scratch out a warrant. So that we can't let them have access to the place. So normally what happens, and it's usually a house or a car that gets seized because evidence. We don't usually seize people temporarily till we go get a warrant. I mean, we can just handcuff them and detain them. So, but if we handcuff them and detain them and we transport them, we got to search them for officer safety, so we don't need it. Same way with a car. You can't search a car without exigency consent or search warrant, except if you're towing it. Then you can search it for inventory search. Except if you see something, or, I mean, there's so many exceptions to a car, it's just like we've totally lost Fourth Amendment protections on cars. And we've almost lost Fourth Amendment protections on our phone, which are two of the biggest things that we ought to have it on. Your car ought to be just like your home. As much time as people spend in it and travel, it ought, and that's why in Texas, your car is like your home. If I can carry a gun or anything in my house, I can carry it in my car. There's no difference between my house and my car. You try to carjack me, I can use the same force I can as if you try to enter my house. So the car is almost the same as your house in Texas, although they still blow that off with their freaking DUI checkpoint bullshit, stop you without probable cause to protect you, driver's license, insurance check, whatever the hell they're calling it now. But I digress. Don't get me started on the government. I'm trying to stay on searches here. So, what happens when you freeze a house or freeze a car? Basically, you stop everything, you secure it so nobody can tamper, destroy, remove, hide, run off, flush evidence. You basically destroy it. I mean, it's no different than if I'm in a house searching and a guy wants to go to the bathroom. I don't let him go to the bathroom by himself, and I don't let him go in there unless I've searched the room for weapons or drugs and make sure it's searched and cleared that there's no evidence in there. And then maybe I'll let him use the bathroom. If he cracks the door or whatever, sometimes he'll leave the door open, it depends on what the situation is. But It's just reasonable, and I know I'm not a big government power guy, but it's reasonable that if I'm trying to prevent a crime, or I think there's evidence of a crime, gun, drugs, whatever it may be, even if you disagree with the crime, whether it's marijuana or freaking, too many tampons, whatever the crime may be, in California, if you have a box of straws are outlawed. Whatever the crime is, if it's a crime, it doesn't make sense for me to say, I'm going to go get a warrant, I'm going to write this warrant, I'm going to spend taxpayer money, I'm starting an investigation, I have belief that there's a crime, and I have belief that there's evidence in here that relates to that crime that will help me solve that crime, that will help identify a suspect engaged or that participated in this crime. It doesn't make sense to go, we'll come back in a couple hours, I'm sure everything will be fine and nobody will do anything. That just sounds so stupid for somebody to want to argue that. But they want to argue it in a fashion that you have no right. The courts have ruled. There's two cases, and I'll make a second part to this video. I'll go in and look up two cases. I think one's out of Illinois, either Sakara or it starts with an S. One is Illinois, and I think there's a MacArthur or Arthur or something in one of them. And basically, the Supreme Court ruled it's legal to freeze. It's legal to remove people out of a house that you're waiting to get a warrant. Now people go, well, you can't move me out. If you don't have a warrant, you can't come in. Yeah, I can. I'm telling you, the government can come in. If I've got reason to search your house and I want to go in and search your house, I can remove you for several things. One, I can remove you because I ain't search your house and I don't know if there's weapons in there and I can claim officer safety. Two, if I do think there's evidence there, I don't want it destroyed and I want you out of the house. Three, I can then go in and search your house. Rick, you can't search without a warrant. I can go in and search your house. Remember, there's different things you search for. I'm not searching for evidence. I'm searching for people that could destroy evidence, hurt me, or interfere with my investigation. I need to secure the house. I cannot search it without a warrant. If you said no consent and I don't have ecstasy, but I can search it for people to secure it until I get my warrant. Now, the point that comes up then is while I'm searching it, I run across a dead body. Holy shit. It's in plain view. There's a dead body in there. But I don't have a search warrant. Am I allowed to be in the house at that point? Yes. Because I'm clearing it, I'm authorized to clear it, and I'm trying to preserve evidence. Even though I had no idea there was a body, even though I wasn't looking at a body, I was going in to preserve because somebody had a gun or a box of straws or freaking whatever, drugs, whatever I was going in for. I had no idea there was a body, but when I'm in there, I see a body. Do I lose that body because I didn't have a warrant? No. Because the courts are going to rule you went in for a lawful purpose to secure to go get a warrant. Now, if it turns out that either I didn't go get a warrant or my warrant was so weak that I said, hey, I think there's stuff in there, the guys are acting suspicious. The courts would go, are you crazy? You ain't getting no freaking warrant on that. And you've been around long enough to know that you don't have enough to get a warrant. So therefore, I think this warrant was a ruse. You didn't really have justification to go get a warrant. Therefore, your justification to go in to secure the house, I'm suppressing the dead body that you found. And that's how the courts would work it out. You got to kind of trust the courts a little bit. Not that I like trusting the courts because they're government, and you got left-wing judges pushing their agenda, and I'm sure you got right-wing. I don't know. I haven't seen to well. I definitely seen religious judges pushing their religious agenda. So you have these complex situations that you don't know how it's going to turn out till it's all in. Back to the case I'm talking about with the car. Did they go get a warrant? I don't care. I think if they did go get a warrant, they lied to the people when they said, I'm 90% sure I cleared. Because I've done that 1,000 times. I don't want to start an argument on scene and tell these people, look, your kid's a shitbag. I've copped him 14 times. He's on probation. He's been arrested 6 times. I've caught him in front of that place stealing dope. He's ran from me and gotten away several times. Your kid's a piece of shit. I know he's involved and I'm going to get a freaking warrant. I don't need to do that. It's easier because then I'm going to get into that's my child and how dare you and your bootleg and your jackhammer. Why do I want to jack up the situation and let them know what I know? So I may say, you know what? I'm sure your kid's a good kid. He's probably not the guy, but, I just want to search. If you don't want to do it, I can probably go get a warrant. Then in my warrant, I may say, Just what I just told you. I've contacted this guy 14 times the other day. He's got a thing he was seeing. I stopped one of his gang members who's contracted for me. He didn't want to be named. And they were doing that contact. He told me that this person was involved in this crime, and he's the one that left with this property that I'm searching for. Therefore, I think since he lives there and he's at the house, I think the property is in that house. There's my warrant. So now I have a reason to go get this warrant for the house for this guy, and everybody else is going like, well, you told me that you thought he was cleared, 90% cleared. How can you get a warrant? I lied to you. I didn't want to start an argument. So, were the cops lying about 90% clear, or were they lying about we have enough to go get a warrant? They could have been lying. They could have been telling the truth about the 90%, and they could have been lying about going to get the warrant. They just told you that to see if they could trick you into saying, if they're going to go get a warrant, search it anyway, I'll let them search. Because they just wanted to search it. And I don't think those cops wanted to search it for some mystical, big conspiracy, wanted to plant dope and set. Look, man, there's enough crime in most places. I mean, if this place has several shootings, they would much rather spend their time catching a real shooter than trying to set up some girl who left the scene that wasn't involved and be like, well, shit, we got a shooter out there and we really want to catch him, and this is a priority case and he's doing a lot of damage, but you know what? Why don't we just pick on this girl, this teenage girl who's driving a car like it, and we'll plant some evidence? Does that make sense? I mean, if they were CHP searching, then I might say that makes sense, because they're freaking idiots. But most normal cops aren't going to do that shit. So you people who are like, oh, they're going to set you up if you let them search, they're going to plant evidence. And dude, why do they want to do that? I mean, I think they were just probably fishing. They probably were 90% cleared, and they were like, you know what? Let's just take a look, because then we can clear it and make sure that there's nothing in there, so we can tag this license plate and this car, and we can tell other officers that contacted, hey, we've already searched it, there was nothing there, we contacted them, this vehicle's cleared. Because that helps progress the investigation. If nobody does that and we have everybody saying no, now the same people with the same car are getting stopped and asked and consented and possible search, and they have to go through the same thing 20 times. Whereas if a cop can clear that vehicle, we can write it off, and then the next time a cop stops it, there can be the detective who says, hey man, I got a list here, hang on, of all the cars that we've already checked. Oh yeah, that's on my list, sorry, been checked, let it go. And we move on. So, I mean, you got to look at both sides. I know there's the cop haters that just think cops are all bad and they're all out there doing good. And I know there's the cop lovers that think, oh, cops should be able to do anything, and the government, you know, they're all perfect and they're all out there just to be good guys and solve crimes. Well, neither one of you are correct. And the truth usually lies in the middle, and I try to give you both sides and then let you choose. I don't really care which one you believe, which one you want to protest. I don't care if you let a cop search or you don't let him search. It doesn't affect me. My point is to educate you so you understand. Now, what I didn't cover was what happens when you're a dick to a cop and you make it personal and you get into this, well, why don't you do this and want you, and you're my servant. And I'm about to post a video that I love this dude, man. They posted it on Think Like Cop Facebook page, and it's a black dude. He says he's a lawyer, and he walks in his own house with a gun, and these two cops are complete jerks to him. And I love this guy, and I'm all for him. And he is in their face, and he won't shut up, and he's egging them on, but he was 100% right. And he was in his house, and he was on his porch. And I support him, and I know a lot of people can come here, you're inconsistent, Rick. You said we shouldn't antagonize cop, and now you're saying you like this guy, and he was antagonizing. Totality of circumstances. This guy was 100% right. These cops were complete jerks. They had no business to harass, contact him. He wasn't committing a crime, and he was in his own freaking home. He don't even need a concealed permit, and he showed him his concealed permit. So I'm going to take his side, and I'm going to have the idiots come here and go, well, you said cops, you should never antagonize cops in your job. You're right, I do say that. Sometimes you don't want to. If you're on iffy ground, even if you're a little bit right, you can beat the charge, but you won't beat the ride. It's just the way it is. So, and then the other thing that I want to cover on this before I forget is cops tearing up cars. Some guy wrote a comment. I had the cops stop me on the side of the road. They took out a knife and they cut my seat wide open. They pulled my seats out and threw it on the side, and they totally gutted my car and didn't find anything and left. Dude, that is so full of shit. I don't believe that for a freaking second. In this day and age, who thinks cops are out there pulling seats out of cars, cutting them up, throwing them on the side of the road, and leaving? That just ain't going to happen. Okay? Now maybe some of it's true. Maybe they accidentally tore the seat. Maybe they did throw something trash on the side of the road. Maybe there's a little truth in there. But I'm telling you, man, I've searched, thousands of cars. And I have never cut a seat open. And I've found dope and not found dope and found guns and not found guns. I've never cut a seat open. So, I mean, and let me go one step further. I've never seen a cop cut a seat open. I've never worked on a case where a cop cut a seat open. I've never testified or been to training to where they showed a picture of them cutting a seat open. Now, I have heard in some trainings, and I have at the border, where they find drugs and they do really detailed search and they disassemble cars. Or if they seize a car on asset seizure forfeiture, they will take the car apart to make sure there's no missed drugs. Or if their dog is consistently hitting on a seat and they can't find anything, they may pull that seat out and tear it open. I mean, when I was working with the DEA on the border at El Paso, they would take tires off the rims, which I was like, damn, that's a lot of freaking work. But if they had a hunch or a tip, and they thought this car, and they didn't find drugs anywhere else, or one of our dogs hit on it, they would take the tires right off the rims and check the tires. So I have seen that, but they would put the rims back on. They wouldn't take the rims off and go, here's your tire, here's your rim, see you later. I mean, it's just crazy that people would say that happens just on the side of the road. Cops came in, cut their seat up, pulled their, and threw them on the side of the road and left. Could it happen with a tyrannical government? It could, but I've never seen it. And if somebody did that and you don't have pictures and you don't have a video and you don't have a copy of the complaint where you filed, because if you didn't file a complaint, you're a freaking idiot. So if you don't have any of that, then I'm calling it didn't happen. Rick, you can't be saying that. You're not, whatever. All right. All right, so hopefully you get it on searching, consent, exigency, or a warrant. And without those, when I temporarily seize, the Supreme Court, when you work with courts a lot, you'll hear the terms a lot. One outweighs the other. You'll hear judges sometimes suppress evidence because the probative value does not override the, I can't think of the other word now. Basically, it would be too biased to your client if we brought this up, and it really doesn't matter that much to the case. Kind of like on the Amber Fry case, that she was sexing and sending naked pictures to her boyfriend who was married. Absolutely, the judge should have absolutely said this has no bearing whatsoever on whether or not she committed deadly force and it was justified. I'm not allowing it. Now, the DA probably goes, Your Honor, it goes to credibility. It goes to her credibility to understand, and if she's going to do that, then she doesn't be credible, and the jury should know that's the kind of person she is, so they shouldn't believe her. And if I was a judge, I'd still say, that's bullshit. That don't mean anything. That means that two adults were having sex, and one of them was married, and she wasn't even the married one. So I don't think it has any probative value whatsoever for your case. And it probably should have not been allowed, but it was. So the courts rule a lot on what I call a scale, a balance scale. And if one side really weights the other, they'll say, it's not worth it. Unless it really weights toward the government and it only hurts the client a little bit, then they'll say, okay. If they're pretty much balanced, they'll err on the side of the government. But if it's tipped pretty much on the defendant's side, they'll probably say, you know what? This is worse on him than it is on this. We're not going to settle it. Which should have been done on the sexing text. So I know I covered a lot and I jumped all over the place. My mind just kind of jumps around as I'm talking to this. These stories come in and I get on these other things. And all these cases, when you're testifying and you're working and you're seeing all these, when I start talking about it, things are popping. Oh, yeah, I remember that. And I remember, oh, yeah, I should cover this. So I know I jumped around a lot, but hopefully you have a better understanding. A cop can seize your vehicle or your house if they think there's evidence and they're really going to go get a warrant. Now, I can't seize your vehicle and say, I'm going to go get a warrant and just detain you for 2 hours to be a jerk and never go get a warrant. Now, that's an unlawful detention. Because I seized it under the premise that I was getting a warrant, I never went to get a warrant, therefore my seizure was unlawful and unjustified. And you have a case against them. But, you can go they can detain you for 2 hours until they find a DA and then finally call a DA and go, hey man, I got this car here and, it kind of looks like it and I'm not real sure, but the owner's kind of a dick and I think we can get a warrant. It might be it. It kind of matches the description. Can I go get a warrant? The DA will probably go, man, that's pretty weak PC. I'm not sure I'd sign off on that warrant. I don't think you'll get a judge who signed it. Just move on to the next case. And then get off the phone. He detained him for 2 hours, come back and goes, okay, you can go. And the guy goes, that's bullshit. You didn't even try to get a warrant. Yeah, he did. He called a DA. He ran a probable cause to him. The DA said no. It just took him 2 hours to get to the DA. That's why when I say don't poke the bear, don't get in a confrontation with cops, don't try to get them to fight you. Cops will fight you. Cops, you know, if you want to be a jerk, if you were a jerk to me, let's go. I'm ready to dance. So, I mean, that's just human nature, and especially cops who are kind of ego-driven, we're kind of macho anyway, and, you know, you didn't see me, like, not trying to fight somebody. I didn't give a shit. You want to fight, let's go. So, if you poke a bear enough, if they can find a reason, and I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying I went out looking for fights, but if you were looking for a fight, you probably found one if you came to me. So, don't poke the bear. Don't give them a reason to where they can use force and later claim, hey, what I did was legal. He did that, I told him not to do that, he charged me, I felt fear in my life, and we got in a fight and I arrested him for resisting arrest. And now resisting arrest is going to be dismissed, which I think is bullshit. I think cops ought to keep track. I don't know how many of mine were, I rarely arrested somebody that wasn't charged. Because when I arrested you, if I was going to go through the paperwork of booking and do a report and spend all that time doing that shit, I wanted your ass charged. I didn't arrest somebody just to give them a ride. Screw that. So, but, you know, there's a lot of cops that are like, especially older cops, that have been around for a while and they don't give a shit. If you give me a reason to arrest you, they'll just arrest your ass, book you, be done with it, and go finish their donut and spend the rest of the shift reading a book or watching YouTube videos. So, if you want to do that, you can do that, and you can claim that you're right, and you can claim that the government boots leg, and you can claim that you won because they didn't charge you. Okay, knock yourself out. That's up to you. If a guy wants to search your car, if you ain't got nothing to hide, and you talk to the guy, and you both have a pretty mutual understanding, it may be easier and faster to let him search it. I'm not saying buckle down to government. I'm not saying give up your rights. I'm not saying allow him to... You know what? If a cop wants to search... Remember, when you give consent, you maintain certain rights with that permission. You can say, dude, I don't mind you searching the car, but I don't want you throwing all my shit on my glove box. So you're allowed to open my glove box, but if you pull anything out of the glove box, I'm going to withdraw my consent. I'm going to stop the search. Because as consenting, you have the ability to stop the search whenever you want. I can withdraw my consent just as I can give it. I can tell the cop, yeah, you want to search my car? Sure, go ahead, get some gloves on. It's probably dirty in there. I can make him put on his gloves. I can go and get all ready. And as soon as he reaches the doorknob, I go, you know what? I'm withdrawing my consent. You can't search it. He'll be like, what? Well, and if he's a dumbass, he'll go, well, you already gave me consent, so I don't care. I'm searching anyway. Perfect. You just won. Ain't nothing he finds he can use. So you can withdraw your consent as easy as you can give it, and you can put limits on your consent. I don't mind you searching. I don't want you doing this, and I don't want you doing that. You can search with your eyes. You can bend over, and you can look. I don't want you moving, grabbing, tearing, breaking, or doing anything with your hands. Can we agree with that? And if you don't find anything with just looking with your eyes, you'll let me go. And the cop may go, cool, man. All I want to do is look under the seat and look in your glove box. That's cool with me. And you may be able to work out that deal. Give him consent to look. He looks under the seat. He looks in the glove box. Hey, man, thanks a lot. I'm good. You good? I'm good. Let's go our separate ways. Do you have to do that? No. Are you being a weasel if you do it and giving up your rights? I mean, it's up to you, dude. Like I said, through life, you're going to walk across piles of shit in the path. And you can either jump in the middle of it and get shit all over you and everything else, or you can walk around it. Sometimes, I'll admit, I'm a jumper. I'll jump right in the middle of it. Sometimes, I walk around it. All right, we'll end that there. Moki's asleep. Say goodbye, little Moki. Bye, YouTubies.
Oh my goodness! He's such a good kitty cat. He's such a good kitty cat.
All right, well, hopefully you got something out. I know I went long. I've had all kind of people complain. What the hell is he talking about? All right, we'll end that there. Moki, you're a good kitty. I don't know where my damn horses are at. All right, see y'all.